SportsLine continues on here on News Channel 5 Plus. Titans a winner on Saturday night, 13-3 over the Bucs, capping off a week in which they did joint practices last week. And I thought, when you looked back at those 2 days, Jeffrey Simmons was the best player on the field. And I think the Titans really acquitted themselves well against a team that has a ton of top-line players. Now, granted, Tom Brady wasn't there. Guys like Mike Evans didn't do much. But there's some talent on that Tampa Bay side. I think the depth on the Tennessee side is significantly better. I think if you're looking at a 53-man roster, Tennessee's a better team than what you see from Tampa Bay. And I also think that Jeffrey Simmons was the best player on the field. Titans defense had their way with Tampa Bay. Again, no Brady out there. And the Titans offense, when Ryan Tannehill was under center, was really good in those 2 days. Now, neither offense performed well on Saturday night when it was all backups in there. It was very much a defensive effort. The Titans defense held them to 3 points, 174 total yards. They got 2 turnovers. They were able to get to the quarterback a little bit despite not having the normal pass rushers in there. Offensively, it wasn't pretty. Malik Willis had the ups and downs we talked about off the top of the show. Logan Woodside threw another interception, but the Titans did just enough. They were able to get 13 points. They strung a couple drives together at the end of the first half. Malik Willis threw the touchdown pass to Chigakonkwo. Just enough to be encouraged there. And to walk away from the week, I think, feeling like, okay, all right, moving in the right direction. Now you have another opportunity this week against the Cardinals. Jonathan Hutton on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central last night with JB, talking about his big takeaways from the week against the Bucs.
Okay, Hutton, we have to remind ourselves not to get too hooked on what we see in the NFL preseason, good or bad. But that being said, what was your big takeaway from last night?
John, that we are 1 week closer to week 1 of the regular season. The first half was a struggle offensively for both teams, and it was a tough game to watch. But we did see some nice things from the offense and the defense at the end of the second quarter. Malik Willis led some scoring drives. The defense forced some turnovers with Weaver and Jones leading the way there. The storyline of the night, Kyle Phillips. He's the returner for this team, and he can also play a nice role in this offense. He was great in a game that wasn't great.
Yes, but last night's game concluded a long week for these two teams. Joint practices Wednesday and Thursday. More starters were involved in those workouts, of course, but no Tom Brady on the other side, which broke my heart. What did you learn from the full week of work with the Bucs?
Without Brady and Evans, the Titans top to bottom were the better roster, mans 1 through 53. I like the work from Tannehill and the receivers against their defensive backs. The depth at running back was solid too, and the best player on the field was Jeffrey Simmons, both days. The Bucs offensive line had no answers. They were frustrated with their adjustments to Wednesday's practice because they didn't help much on Thursday. Simmons had his way with the Tampa offensive line.
And then he tried to have his way with Leonard Fournette after the second practice. Arizona Cardinals, by the way, come in for joint practices this week prior to preseason game number 3 next Saturday.
John, thank you very much. The Cardinals do come into town. They'll be here on Wednesday. But some news today. Mike Vrabel said the two teams will only practice together on Wednesday. It'll largely be one-on-one stuff, really competitive things, cornerbacks against wide receivers, stuff like that. Not a lot of teamwork. And then Thursday, they're actually going to split off completely. I don't know exactly what the Cardinals' plan is going to be with that. I imagine maybe they find a high school or something like that. Maybe Vanderbilt, since Vanderbilt's out of town, getting set for its game out at Hawaii. Maybe they go to one of those places and get their work in because the game isn't until Saturday. You know they're going to want to work in some ways. But the Titans are going to have their practice to themselves on Thursday. So a little bit of a departure from the plan initially. But you're still going to have a joint practice coming up on Wednesday. And then, of course, the preseason game on Saturday night. Back to JB and Jay Hutt looking to what we're hoping to find out this week and beyond as the Titans get set for that regular season opener September 11th against the Giants.
By Jonathan. By Jonathan Hutton, another big week for the Titans. Final preseason game next Saturday night against Arizona. But before that, 2 days of joint practices with the Cardinals Wednesday and Thursday. And for many players on the bubble, it'll be their last chance to make an impression on the coaching staff. What are you looking for this week?
Well, the storyline, John, is Malik Willis. And if he continues to take the coaching from the preseason performance and convert it the way he leads this offense in practice, he was better last week than he was leading up to Baltimore. And if they want him to get as many snaps as possible, I'd play him the entire game on Saturday against Arizona. The practices leading up will be a bit different compared to what we saw against the Bucs, though. They're going to go 1-on-1, 7-on-7, and 2-minute drill against Arizona. But both teams will split off for 11-on-11 work, and that's because they want to continue to evaluate players and maybe peek ahead to week 1 a bit.
Yeah, we're exactly 3 weeks away from the regular season opener against the Giants. I grew up a Giants fan. I still follow them. I could go on for hours talking about the Giants' concerns, but what would you say is the Titans' biggest concern before we get to September 11th?
Finding a player to play with confidence at right tackle, John. Radens or Petit Frere, they don't have to be perfect, just be consistent. It's obvious they've got to protect the quarterback. The Giants will be bringing Ojulari, maybe Thibodeau off the edge. Right now, either player would require help from a tight end or a running back. But when they're on an island, Tannehill's got to be able to trust them. That is goal number 1 for me in week 3 of the preseason.
No question about it. As we said, just 3 weeks away. All right, Jay Hutt, always appreciate the time and the knowledge.
You're the best.
Guys, thank you very much. That preseason game, 6 o'clock Saturday night over at Nissan Stadium. Titans will try to wrap up the preseason with a winning record and, of course, get out of it unscathed injury-wise. It'll be interesting to see how much some of the regulars play. Do we see them at all in the preseason? I guarantee you Derrick Henry isn't going to be out there. But do we see a little bit more of that offensive line? What do the reps look like at right tackle? Where do we go from there? I think that'll be interesting to watch on Saturday night. And then all eyes point ahead. 20 days and counting for that regular season opener against the Giants. We'll take a break. When we come back, your phone calls welcome, 737-7767. And we'll get to some other sound from Titans players after this here on SportsLine on News Channel 5+.